So I'm a used car dealer and I get to go to these used car dealer auctions. And what we see a lot are these repossessed vehicles. And that's really the ending stages of where you'll see these cars land. And there's no it's not a rare thing to see a lot of repossessions enter the market. I know during this time period we're seeing more delinquencies, more repos that are entering these auctions, and that's an element of the economy that we're in right now, the car market that we're in. But really, what happens throughout the stages of really what happens when these cars get repossessed, from the time that they're repossessed to their landing point of what happens from when these banks take them, when these dealers take them in. Well, there's really two different scenarios of where repossessions happen from these consumers after they stop making their payments. And you have the two scenarios of you have the lending institution or a bank that's going to repossess a car, or you have a dealer that actually holds the note of these cars. And when I say that I see a lot of these cars, they come through auction, and a lot of times that's going to be their ending place before they actually get to another car dealer, or they ultimately just end up in the scrapyard. I'll talk to you a little bit later in this video about the condition of a lot of these repos that we see coming through these auctions. But I want to start out on the bank side. So when a consumer goes to a bigger car dealer or a new car dealer, a franchise dealer, you think Nissan, Ford, GM, Toyota, if they buy a vehicle from there, most likely the note that's held, the lien that's held on this car is not through the actual dealership. It goes through Wells Fargo, Capital One, some kind of lending institution. And what will end up happening is if a consumer goes default on their loan, they'll give them some time frame. Some banks, they try to work with the consumers, but if the consumer just ends up getting to a point where they don't make the payments and they can't make the payments, then the bank will ultimately repossess the vehicle, and that vehicle will go straight to an auction. And I get asked a lot, well, how do I know that a car that's being sent to the auction is a repossessed vehicle? Well, it's much easier in the case when I see that come from a Wells Fargo or a Capital One. Reason being is because I know that Wells Fargo, Capital One, these banks, these big lenders, any credit unions, whatever, they don't have car dealerships. So they're not trying to sell cars. So anytime that they have a vehicle that's at auction, it's because they took it back. They repossessed this car on a loan that went bad, because they're not getting trade-ins. They're not trying to resell any of these vehicles. They're dumping that vehicle at the auction, and they're trying to get whatever they can out of it. Now, the problem for the consumer when it goes this route with a lending institution is that that consumer is now on the hook for any kind of negative equity that this consumer is going to have in the vehicle. And we know right now negative equity is a big time problem, because over the last 3 years, consumers paid way too much for these vehicles, and banks loaned way too much on these vehicles. So if a consumer bought a car a year ago, and now we've seen the wholesale prices go down and down and down and down just over the course of a year, then you're going to have that consumer that loses their vehicle, and they might be $10,000 underwater on these cars. We've seen cases even higher. I've seen $18,000, $20,000, especially on these big SUVs that they paid massive market adjustments on. They lose the vehicle, it goes to auction, and then they're on the hook for whatever the deficit is that's left on that remaining loan. Now, these consumers, they were not going to pay for their monthly payments, and that's why they lost their car. So what was going to ultimately happen is that most cases the bank is going to end up taking this write-off. They're going to take a haircut on this because the customer's not going to be able to pay the difference on this car. The bank's going to try to they can garnish wages, they can go after the consumer in any kind of legal way that they can, but they're probably not getting the money. So that's what we're looking for in the car market going forward, that a lot of these banks are going to take a lot of these write-offs. And we see these bigger dealerships like CarMax, they hold a lot of their own notes. They're kind of the middle ground between the lending institution and then you have your buy here, pay here dealers. CarMax is kind of fit right in the middle of those two segments, because they are a massive company, but they are just basically a massive buy here, glorified buy here, pay here dealer. So I want to go to that second scenario of the cars actually getting to the auction, and that's when a consumer buys a car from a buy here, pay here dealer. And if you don't know what a buy here, pay here dealer is, it's these dealers that you'll see on the side of the highway, and the cars that you'll see, they have the big stickers that say $995 down, or they'll list, they'll say, okay, $450 a month, and that'll be on the car. You'll never see prices on these cars, is because they're only trying to get either a down payment or get these consumers into a monthly payment. These dealers typically are pretty predatory, and their interest rates are very, very, very high. I know that the buy here, pay here dealers that I've seen, they have a cap as far as how much interest they can charge in the state, and the state dictates how what the highest percentage is that they can charge. And I can guarantee that 90% of them, they're going right up to that last hundredth of a percentage point of what they can charge. And they can be pretty predatory. And as soon as the consumer falls behind on those payments, because that dealership is going to hold its own note, it's going to hold its own lien, the consumer will literally pay their payments directly to that dealership. Then what will happen is, I know in North Carolina, they can be behind, I think it's something like 10 days, and then the dealership is able to go and get the car. And it's going to be different in every state. And what happens in those situations is the dealer then has two options. The dealer will, if the car is in decent shape, then the dealer will resell the car. They'll get their $995 down payment again, and just keep on this wealth destroying spiral for that end of the subprime market. And consumers keep just falling for it and falling for it and falling for it. And they get into these payments that they know they can't afford, but they got the down payment. They can get into the down payment. They'll ride the car for just a little bit. They'll stop paying for it, and then that dealer will pick it up. If it's in good enough condition, they'll put it back on their lot and then start it over again. But if the car is in a condition that the dealer does not want to resell it, then it'll come to these car dealer auctions. And whenever I'm doing a lot of these videos on our main channel where you're seeing repossessed vehicles, these are a lot of the vehicles that you're seeing on my videos. And the reason why I know that those are repossessed vehicles, even though they have that independent dealer's name on it, I know that dealer's not getting a ton of trade-ins. When these buy here, pay here dealers are doing a transaction, it's much different than when you're seeing like a Ford dealership or a new franchise dealership actually doing transactions on these cars, because a lot of times they'll get trade-ins. A lot of people will trade in their old car and then put that towards the payment on or the amount on their new car, or use that as their down payment on their new car. Doesn't usually work that way when you're looking at the buy here, pay here dealers. A lot of the consumers will come in and they'll just do that $995 down, and then they'll start rolling on the payments. So I know that a lot of cars that are coming into our auctions that have a buy here, pay here dealer's name on it, a majority of them are going to be repossessed cars. So let me talk to you a little bit about what a repossessed vehicle typically looks like. And if you watched a lot of our videos, you know that they're not the best. And there's usually stains all over the seats. There's missing parts. Mechanically, they're typically not sound. And the reason being is because people who know that they're going to get their cars repossessed, and they know that they're going to lose their cars for the most part, because they're not making the payments. They know that they signed this agreement. If I'm not going to make the payments, if I fall behind a month, 2 months, whatever, then I know that I'm going to lose my car. So if they know that, they're not taking care of the car. They're not going to do the maintenance. They're not going to change the oil. If there's a dent, a ding, they're not going to pay to get that fixed. If the paint starts fading, they're not going to pay money to get it fixed. And even if you have small mechanical issues, wheel bearings, sensors, things like that, customer's not going to fix that stuff. And there's a saying in the car market. A lot of these buy here, pay here dealers will say that okay, they have to give these consumers a good car, because they can only do one thing. They can either fix the car, or they can make the payment, and they can't do both because they don't have the money for both. So they want to make sure that these cars are good when they go out. Buy here, pay here dealers. Now the good buy here, pay here dealers, and you can take that phrase with a grain of salt. Like I said, they are pretty predatory, but there are some buy here, pay here dealers out there that will work with consumers. I don't like the way that they typically run their businesses, but you have buy here, pay here dealers that know how to make the business work. Let me phrase it like that. Not necessarily say that they're good, but they know how to operate the right way in the business. And then the way that they have to do that is by getting good cars to consumers, because they have to have that car last for the life of the loan and not really have anything go wrong with it. Because if there's something that goes wrong with it, guess what? It's coming back to them, and they at that point it's the dealer's problem, so that's what we usually see coming into these auctions are a bunch of wrecked, nasty, gross cars, and we don't we'll look at repos, but they have to be the top 5% of all the repos that we see to actually buy. And I have a lot of people ask. Well, can I know if I go to a dealership or if I'm looking at a car online or buying a car from an individual, if it's ever been repossessed? And the answer is no. No, you can't know unless that dealer is going to tell you. A lot of dealers, when they're going to auctions, they know that they're buying a repo when they buy a repo. So that dealer is going to have to divulge that information and let you know if it's been a repossessed car. But it's not going to show up on Carfax. It's not going to show up on any of these history reports that you can pull that the vehicle has been repossessed. So it's just kind of goes its own way, and a lot of times, even though these banks can report repossessions on people's credit, buy here, pay here dealers are not. Bob's Used Cars is not going to they're not going to turn into anything to credit reports. It's more paperwork than they want to deal with. They're just going to go pick up the car and then either resell it or send it to auction and see what kind of money that they can get out of it. So no, it's very difficult for you to know if you're buying a repossessed vehicle or not. So anytime you're looking at a vehicle from a used car dealer lot, the easiest way to protect yourself, whether it's you're trying to protect yourself against a bad repossessed car or even just a bad car in general, my biggest tip is to have you a good mechanic before you go buy a car and get it checked out before you buy it, because you can buy a paperweight very quickly. You can buy a bad car. So just make sure you get your cars checked out before you purchase anything. But we can roll to the chat. I think my wife is looking at the chat, so she's probably got some stuff picked out for us. So let's go, baby.
Oh, you're ready for me. Okay, well, you're going to be upset about this, but we already have some super chats.
Oh, do not give us money. Please use your money for something else. Don't give me your money. I appreciate it. But anyway, so can you read it?
Yes. Hi there, Brandon. Just got home from pickleball. Appreciate the information.
All right. Thank you very much, John. All right. Next. That's not really a question. That's good, though.
I know, but I mean,
I just got finished playing pickleball, honestly. So my wife is reading these questions. She is not in the same room as me because she would not want to smell me right now because I have not showered since pickleball.
Okay, I didn't know that, but I'm glad I'm home. Yeah. Thank you for all your hard work and giving everyone more knowledge. And keep the outtakes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Don't give us any more money. Nobody give us money. Stop.
Will the V8 go extinct?
Sadly, I do think so, because what we're pushing forward, not what we're pushing forward, but what a lot of the EPA regulation, government stuff, or whatever, they're pushing for better gas mileage. They're pushing for less emissions. That's why you're seeing a massive push for EVs. And I think outside of work trucks, as the years progress, unfortunately, I think we are going to be moving more towards V6s with on these bigger vehicles, the V6s with turbos. So I mean, they still got power, but I would rather have that V8. I feel safer in the V8. I think you're going to have less problems with the V8 instead of trying to over push a lot of these V6s. So I don't like it, but I do think we're going that way. All right, next question. Oh, you're muted. Why don't you ever advertise this channel on your bigger channel? Car Questions Answered. I have pushed it a little bit. We have I mean we have a lot of people that show up for a lot of these lives, and we I think we're doing okay with it. I do like having the interaction with you guys a lot more than just doing the regular videos that we typically do. And these are fun. I like having the interaction. So maybe I should let you guys know about this second channel on our main channel. But the thing that I've found too is a lot of people that are watching our second channel, they don't even realize this is a second channel. So they just see my stupid face on the thumbnail. They just click on it. So if you don't know that this is a second channel, please subscribe. We need more subscribers on this channel. It would really help us out. So thank you for that call out. You probably don't know this is a second channel if you're watching. All right, next question.
Also, I am unmuted now. I might need to stay off mute. It's a lot of
buttons. Just stay off mute if you're reading questions.
All right. Should I wait to buy a Challenger?
Yes, you should wait. Right now, those are some of the vehicles that are getting hit the hardest right now in this market. Jeep, Dodge, Ram is taking it on the chin. Their dealerships, their dealer principals, their franchise managers are crying to Stellantis to help them out selling things. It's going to get much, much, much worse for Stellantis going forward. You're going to see incentives after incentives after incentives. You're going to see price cuts from these dealerships. You can go in now and you can get deal. I've just heard. I can't remember if it was a car dealership guy or if it was Zach and Ray. They're talking about that they're seeing consumers go in and getting like $18,000 to $20,000 off Challengers and Chargers, and they're still not selling them. So you can go get a relatively, I'm not going to say a good deal, but you can get like 10, 15, 20% off a lot of these. And there's going to be more cuts. And they're going to have to, because if you go to any Jeep dealership right now, you're seeing tons of Grand Cherokees sitting around. You're seeing tons of Ram 1500s sitting everywhere, and you're seeing Chargers, Challengers stack up everywhere. And it looks like Easter on their lots, because they got all these cool different colors: the purples, the greens, the light blues, all these different colors. They're everywhere. I mean, if you it's amazing that not about 12 months ago, you couldn't get a Challenger or Charger and not pay a market adjustment. And they're saying, well, you just can't find them anywhere. And now it just it's changed, and it's just like that. And now they're everywhere, and they are begging consumers to come buy these vehicles, and they still can't sell them. All right, so wait is the answer to that, and wait till at least the end of this year if you want a screaming good deal on one, because they're going to be giving these things away. Buy one get one free. They're going to have to do something insane to make sure that these dealers are not just swimming in all these vehicles. And we're going to start seeing it come from these manufacturers on their quarterly reports. They've been all rosy and good up until now, and now dealerships are turning down allocations. We recently just talked to a Nissan dealer who had a video on our main channel come out yesterday. Check that out. It's an interview. And he said he's got to pull back. He's got to pull back on his allocations. So all these other dealers, they're doing the same thing. They all start pulling back. Then Jeep, Dodge, Ram, Ford, GM, they're going to start stacking a lot of these vehicles all at their plants. They're going to have to start renting space, and then it's turning bad. It's turning bad, and we're going to start seeing it now. All right, next question.
All right, sorry, switching around. Let's see. Here we go. I need to replace my all-wheel drive Toyota Sienna that I totaled last month. Going out of state to find one, so checking it out mechanically will be impossible. I can take my OBD2, but any suggestions 2012 through 2015?
If you can't check it out mechanically, are you saying you can't check it out mechanically before you get there? But when you get there, you need to check it out mechanically, or I don't want you to do this. This is a bad idea. I don't want you to buy anything without checking it out mechanically first. So my assumption is, and I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, is you're saying that you can't check it out mechanically before you get there. So when you get there, before you get there, I want you to call and find a local small mechanic shop that's around where you're going to go pick this van up or go check this van out. and just call around and say, hey, I'm coming in town and I'm checking this van out on this particular day, and I want to bring it to you, and I want to pay you some money to get it up on a lift. I want to have you check it out for me like you were going to buy it. Don't go to a retail place. Retail places are the worst. If they got tons and tons of stores everywhere, they're not going to help you out. They will say they'll help you out, but they're going to find stuff wrong with that van that doesn't matter. They're going to try to upsell you. They have multiple retail locations because they are good at upselling and scamming people. I hate to use that term, but we deal with enough of these retail locations that just give you an example. We've put some brand new brakes on a vehicle. We had a customer take it to them, and then they came back with this laundry list of stuff that needed to be fixed, and on that was brakes. So I don't trust any of those places. What I do trust is small mom and pop shops that have good reviews on Google, that seem to be trustworthy, honest. You want to call around and find one of those places. And on that day that you get there, you want to tell whoever you're buying it from. I would assume you're buying it from an individual if you're traveling to do this, or even if you're at a dealership. Say, when I get there, I'm scheduling an appointment with this mechanic, and I want to go and get it checked out by them before I purchase the car. That's what I want you to do. And if you're not able to do that, I don't want you to make this purchase. I don't feel comfortable with it for you. All right, next question. Maybe
Okay,
next question.
1 second. I'm working on it. You can't see me working on it, but I'm working on it. All right. Where can you find repo vehicles for sale, like a repo auction?
Yeah, so there's not. I've only seen one auction in the last 13 years that I've done this that has just specialized in repossessed vehicles, and they didn't last very long because there's not enough. Even right now, when we're having more repos in the system, there's not enough to justify having one particular auction that just handles all the repossessions. But most auctions that I go to, they'll have a section of repossessed vehicles. The auction that you see on a lot of my vehicle on videos, they'll have one row where there's a buy here, pay here dealer. And I think even last auction, I thought I saw like it was something credit, something finance or whatever was the name. So they have like a section of repossessed vehicles. All the bigger auctions I go to, they have places where they'll run like Wells Fargo cars, Capital One cars, and they're all in one place. But a majority of cars that run through auction are trade-ins. So it's going to be very difficult to find an auction that just does repossessions. But just about all the auctions that I go to, they have repos. So any dealer auction that you can find, you'll be able to find some repossessions there. Some are going to have more than others, but I'm just trying to think back about. I think there's one auction out of like 5 or 6 that we can go to that are around here that doesn't have repossessions, and that's because it's ran by basically just one big franchise dealer, and they have multiple stores and bring all their stuff. So all that stuff's trade in, but other than that, every other one has repossessed vehicles. But that is our time for today. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel. There you go. Subscribe and like this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we are going to hit the